Can't tell you how many times people come up to me saying that they want to be this brand as the end goal. And that brand is Gymshark, now valued at 1.2 billion. They started in 2012 off the backs of influencer. Today, we are bringing on their ex-CMO, a guy who's been in the business of D2C for 20 plus years, now consulting several brands, also previously worked with the Hut Group, and was seeing a lot of visibility into major players like Unilever and Nintendo, all these different brands. We specifically focused on Gymshark since that is a brand that I even looked up to at my days at Kalo, looking at how they implemented influencer strategy, how they worked with creators. So we spent a lot of our time there, but lots of gems found throughout this episode. So I'm excited to jump in. Let's do it. All right, everybody. We are back with another episode of the Influence Marketing Blueprint. I have a fascinating guest here today. We're going to be getting into the ins and outs of specifically around one of his brands that he worked with and was CMO at, but I'll just leave that as a little teaser. But Rich Chappell joining us today. What's up, man?
Hi, I'm really good, Cody. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to connect out. I guess what you would say is across the pond. We're both across the pond from each other. So You are currently in London.
Although we're having a California-esque day today, we're having a good summer day in London. So it's absolutely glorious. It'll just predictably rain tomorrow.
Yeah. So Rich, you have a fascinating background. Why don't you just give like a 30-second little overview of you've got 20 plus years.
I'll do my best. Give me a time
e-commerce.
check, Cody, because I've been in retail for 30 years. Started off in home improvement, actually in the mid-90s, working on the shop floor in physical retail. So the equivalent of like a Home Depot here, and then moved into a head office role, another home improvement brand as a junior marketer. But in my part, I suppose in my spare time, I was absolutely into everything internet, e-commerce, getting online, and actually have a big passion for music. So those of you watching, I've got a few guitars hanging up behind me, and was really keen to work in the music or entertainment industry, and fell into kind of my perfect job. So my first role as in direct-to-consumer e-commerce was at a business called Play.com, which was in the early 2000s. So very similar, I suppose, proposition to Amazon back in the similar time. So we were kind of the UK's Amazon. Discs in boxes, books, small toys, merchandise. That business grew from around 20 million to 500 million in 4 years that I was there really quickly, and had to keep hold of, I suppose, all different marketing channels. They're offline, online, early days of obviously paid search, paid social wasn't a thing. You couldn't advertise on Facebook in the early days, right? And all those things. Then joined a business after 5 years there called the Hut Group, THG. They own brands like Look Fantastic, Skin Store, My Protein, and others, big house of brands. Again, some similarities to Amazon in the fact that it's all first-party platform and fulfillment end-to-end. I was responsible for demand creation across all their brands for a couple of years. And then I was a founding director or CEO of Ingenuity, which is a sort of a platform business that then helps other brands grow through e-commerce. And we've got big sort of FMCG consumer packaged goods clients like Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Nintendo. And that was fascinating. So again, my growth journey there was 10 to about 500 million again in 6 years. I then left to do some lifestyle consulting, had a young family. And I did a few things. I was actually working with Unilever as I suppose in their global e-com team around D2C strategy, particularly, and that's when I came to LA for a trip, looking at when they were doing a lot of premium beauty acquisitions, the likes of Kate Somerville, Murad, and some others that you'll probably know. And I also met a brand called Gymshark, around 8 million turnover, with two best friend co-founders and their friends and family, and a few sort of, I suppose, individuals with some experience who were trying to work out how to continue the growth of that business. And when I met them, actually things had started to plateau slightly, because I think they'd obviously really actually leveraged influencer marketing a great deal by gifting predominantly male YouTube content creators in the fitness industry. And actually it was a brilliant time for me because I went into that business having come from let's say a department store background. you think about both the Hut Group and at Play.com, we were selling other people's brands, and we were really good at mid and low funnel optimization. So we would, sort of, I suppose, manage or actually, outperform our competitive set quite significantly there. And actually meeting Gymshark was, other than the experience of my pro team, was kind of the first time of looking at a really fully vertically integrated brand. It was designing and making its own product. It was then creating its own awareness exclusively through YouTube influencers. And then I was looking at their Google Analytics, saying, right, hang on a second, how comes you've got, around 8 million turnover with just direct? Because they hadn't set the tracking up or anything else like that. And I'm just looking at the guys then told me, we've got a handful, 10, 15 guys that are absolutely who we aspire to look like. And the founders were saying, these are the people that we follow, we love, they're just awesome. And we've gifted them product. They wear it while they train, and through, I suppose, osmosis and people watching it, they're like, wow, that guy's chest and arms looks awesome in that t-shirt. And kind of that's where that business started to grow from that point. And my role there started off as an advisor, sort of much more non-executive sort of strategy, helping them spot, I suppose, or identify the unknown unknowns for that business, because there's quite a few when you're a young founder at 20, right? They've built a brand. What's coming? So being able to show the guys what was about to, I suppose, come across their desks in the next month, 3, 6, 12 months, and not only think about the demand side, but very much I spent a lot of time around building the organization design. We did a lot of work on actually moving them from first party fulfillment to third party. There's loads of things I got involved in. And then, I would sit there in sort of a board meeting or a seat. I don't think there was a formal was a board meeting, but, senior meeting away from the tactical execution every day. And we'd be, I'd be saying, hey, we need to do this in marketing. We need to do this. We need to, and they sort of point back at me and say, well, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm quite busy doing Unilever and other bits. And obviously the infectious nature and the opportunity of the growth in that brand was awesome. So stuck around with those guys until 200, and then actually was thinking about, I've learned loads in, I suppose, direct to consumer e-commerce growth in particular. How could we package that up and then actually work with more brands and help more people grow the right way? So that's what we do now at Growth Foundation. So quick one on that. We're a team of 25, similar, I suppose, experience and track record to myself, but I call us like the growth Avengers, right? I've got individuals with slightly different superpowers, and we come together, and that is also, the force is greater than our individual parts. And we do consulting, strategy, and we support on tactical execution quite often. We do talent and recruitment, and actually we're building some apps, starting in the Shopify ecosystem, but in the future anywhere that help merchants on conversion rate optimization at the moment. So loads going on. That wasn't 30 seconds. Sorry, guys.
There you go. But I'm sure fascinating for lots of people. I want to focus on Gymshark because, like I told you right before we started pressing record, I can't tell you how many people still reference Gymshark as the hero, the aspire, like they want to be, it's aspirational brand that they want to be them. They want to do influencer like them. And I believe they started in 2015 or 2012.
The brand started in 2012. And you joined,
you joined at 3 years in.
Yeah. So I was in I met them late 2015, started getting sort of stuck into the business 2016 for about 2.5 years. Yeah. From
so obviously, I mean, especially if we look at the lifetime of Gymshark now, just the incredible growth, 8 million is very early on for them. But obviously for many people listening, they're maybe not be at 8 million. 8 million is a dream, or they're at 8 million right now, and 200 is a dream.
How do I get to 100? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So what was it about? Was that just an organic connection when you came across Ben and his co-founder?
So it came through a mutual contact. Actually, I'd left THG. Say my daughter was born, my second child, and I was I can remember it. I was sitting in one of Unilever's brand's offices about to meet the new CEO around, again, they're very direct to consumer led, and to talk to them about some strategy and tactics, I guess. And I just sat there waiting because the meeting was running late, and I sent 20 direct messages on LinkedIn, actually, of people that I knew and thought, oh, that was a cool person I work with. I like that. And a guy called Paul Richardson, who actually got consumed and infected in a good way by the Gymshark business as well, right? He ended up being their chairman and has recently left that business and now building a portfolio of other brands. He said, can you come in and meet these guys? I've got 2 young guys who are more passion than you can ever imagine. Actually, one of the things he said, and it was clear, particularly with Ben, like, I suppose I'm going to call it strategic clarity, and we can maybe deconstruct that because that does influence how you build an influencer or create a campaign. But the clarity of, I suppose, who customers are in that early time, and the products, or actually, I suppose, the features and benefits of the Gymshark products and how it would satisfy that consumer. But there were lots of other things that needed fixing, right? As you can imagine, I met a couple of individuals that had like dropped out of uni for Ben or left school or whatever, and were best mates who are doing and working in the business. And I remember speaking to one individual who has a title, I think, of marketing director. I was like 19 years old. Obviously, hadn't quite got the, let's say, the time and commercial maturity perhaps to deserve that title. Yeah. And I remember saying to him, "So tell me about marketing." It would be like, and it was actually the individual that would do a lot of the, I suppose, the organic searching for the right type of influencers. And I'm saying, what does a day look like for you? And he's like, I spend half my day, on my phone, following, looking, checking out content from the people we want to talk to, sending them a DM, sending them a gift package and stuff. And I then sort of like talk to him about, sorry, what are you doing on paid search, paid social, affiliates, da da da. You can sort of see him looking at me, go, I don't even know what you're saying. So there was a lot of opportunity to bring some sophistication and maturity into that organization. And even within, obviously, a influencer program that had material traction already, that had grown that brand to 8-10 million turnover. It was done with a very let's say, subjective and artistic approach. There was no real commercial analysis on which, audience crossovers, which influencers actually generate the most traffic. I mean, I'll give you a great example of some other things. Back in the time, and this is a really common technique, isn't it? Right? You give your influencer or creator an exclusive code. Mm-hmm. We had one particular influencer, and I won't name him, but like he had and obviously, and I believe, there was a small retainer being paid to sort of make sure he was exclusive to the brands. I'll say, a few $100s a month, and then he would earn a percentage of the code usage. Mm-hmm. And guess what? Generic codes leak all over the internet. And suddenly this individual is earning a significant amount of money. And when you're looking at last click referral and when the codes are being used. And these were, I suppose, analysis that I've been trained and either created or trained to use in other roles and previous jobs. You're like, hang on a second. I think probably this individual only deserves 5% of the attribution, because it's everywhere. You can find this code on voucher code sites, on everyone's sharing it on DMs. You're like, so. And actually, one of the interesting things about Gymshark at the time is, and still today, it's 100% direct to consumer. You can only buy Gymshark from Gymshark. And we then sort of sat in a room for half an hour deliberating, and I suggested, let's turn off all codes this afternoon. And you can see the guys going, well, hang on, what are the influencers going to get if we haven't got that? I'm like, we can give them other things. We should be giving them affiliate links to track them. And we can commission them that way. We can give them exclusive access to product. We could build collab ranges. We can do early access. We could do exclusive colorways. There's more around the product than just a discount. We aren't a discount brand. We wanted to be more aspirational to that. So again, we switched off all the codes. We didn't do it that afternoon. We did a bit of planning and communicating with the sort of the sponsors and the influencers. And a week later, we switched it all off, and sales revenue went up, and order volume didn't decline. People still wanted the product.
Today's Power Minute is brought to you by Mighty Scout, an influencer tracking tool. So you've probably heard Taylor and I talk about Mighty Scout at length in past episodes, but today we want to take special time to speak to it specifically. So if you are investing in any sort of influencer marketing to a degree, I highly suggest getting on Mighty Scout. First of all, it's going to track all of your organic posting that goes out. So if you're doing seeding, pay for posts, you can drop in all your influencers by campaign. And then once those influencers are in those campaigns, they're going to immediately start being tracked if and when they mention you by handle or any hashtags that you give it. So it's going to give and pull all that content, most importantly, so that you can know who posted, you can reach out for content rights, etc. Also, it's going to give you all the reporting and ROI on those things as far as metrics wise. So you're going to be able to know the vanity metrics that go out around those influencer posts. You're going to know everything that it goes into around influencer marketing in regards to Mighty Scout. So if you haven't checked them out, highly, highly suggest them. Go to mightyscout.com to find out more.
So, I've actually written content around Gymshark myself. We're using them as a case study for how to go about influencing the right way. Like reading on Ben's philosophy, going to fitness events, just literally passing out product, not asking for anything, just getting his product out there in 2012. They're on the front end of really focusing on the relationship.
Timing is really good for them, right? Because Instagram, which plays into, I suppose, the offer architecture or the value proposition that Gymshark has, which is around being honest, looking better. So, Instagram is kind of a, hey, I want to look my best kind of platform. And particularly when you wind the clock back 5-7 years, it was a place to turn up in your best, right? So, and also there's an element, I suppose, in the clarity that Ben and the team that would work on finding, I suppose, talent, creator talent, influencer, ambassador, whatever the name was, were absolutely clear. And one of the things I learned there around, it wasn't around follower numbers, and it was around engagement, and it was around the authenticity and the quality of the content and the training content. So it wasn't that breaking the fourth wall, hey, I'm here in the product and I'm going to talk to you about the features and benefits of the product. It was a Steve Cook, a Lex Griffin, a Matt Ogus wearing the product while they were training, saying, look, if you want to work on, these particular areas of your body, this is how you do it. So again, it's that lovely thing, and apparel are brilliant, I suppose, influencer creator brands or products, right? Because you can wear it, you can go around your normal content creation life. If it's, hey, I'm into creating cocktails or I'm into gym and fitness, you're wearing something, and through osmosis, people go, wow, I like what he's wearing or she's wearing, right?
Yep. You made a great call out there. You made a great call out there of they focus on the content quality, not just getting lost.
But also, we didn't dictate too heavily either. So, we did. I think you may have seen, if you're following some of Gymshark's content, there's a brilliant, I suppose, reminder of sort of some of the values and culture at Gymshark. And as you walk into the head office, it says, "Don't be a dickhead," and that kind of "don't be a dick," which in the UK parlance is, an idiot. Don't just be cool. And I think when we think about approaching content creators as well, it was like, you could come in and say, right, if we're going to retain you, you can't be seen in any other gym brand. You can't, you've got to be wearing us exclusively. And we were like, let's just be really chill, because people will mix and match products. They'll wear the leggings and they'll wear a Nike top. That's cool. That's like normal, right? It was like allowing the content creators to behave normally and authentically. And, there was always, I suppose, a fair usage and some consideration around that. That's cool.
Yeah. So not approaching influencers saying like, first of all, they've never heard of Gymshark at that time. And they're not approaching them saying, hey, you need to be our exclusive partner, which rubs people the wrong way. I thought it would be interesting, 2012, influencer marketing is not really a term. I mean, I started at the brand that I was at internally, and right when I started, I was looking at Gymshark in like 2015, and that was starting to maybe be a term. That wasn't even my title, even though that was my role. And so for you coming in, learning, you're like, hey, we've gotten to 8 to 10 million off the backs of influencers with this new terminology. Instagram is really just starting to take off at that time of period. Is that kind of like, oh yeah, that's kind of petty, elementary for you? And
I don't think elementary, but I suppose having the benefit of being a marketer back to the early 2000s or late 90s is that something that's proven and has gone back probably until the even perhaps, thousands of years when money is exchanged for services and goods, is that social proof and having someone with some celebrity or trust telling you, that this product is good and does what it promises to, sells more product, right? And you can see even before, I suppose, social media really starts to take off, and even still today, brands are using television ads or others, and they're using celebrity or other trusted sources. And it might be, you've got celebrity, haven't you? But you've got, like, perhaps if you're in the medical sector or in supplements, you might want someone with more of a scientific qualification to say this does do what it says. The efficacy of this product is X, Y, Z. So that element, I suppose, of knowing that social proof is a thing that can create more conversion and more interest overall. What the social media platforms and I suppose social graphs in Meta and all those other places I used to is have much faster, I suppose, network effect, the ability of that scaling faster. And also the benefit of not only do you get the speed of the scale, the cost to enter is much lower, right? So instead of, if you're going to do a TV ad, you're going to need at least, perhaps, in the UK, you need at least £250,000 to make any impact. So people could maybe say they've seen it. In the US, that might be you'd need 5 to 6 times that to break through, right? In terms of the population. So it meant that, again, for a gift of a product, effectively, or maybe a gift with a bit of retainer or some commission on sale, it's a really low risk, low entry point to be able to get that social proof element. And we would talk about social proof quite a bit in our offer architecture. And we were very keen to ensure not only was the quality, I suppose, and the authenticity of the content which creates the awareness is really high. It needs to be then backed up with the delivery of the promise that those influencers make on behalf of the brand. So like we would obsess about Trustpilot and, and or Yotpo reviews and things around products and service as well. We never got it right all the time, but actually, we did things that were quite counterintuitive or unusual in the market. So for example, when we were talking about talking to our logistics providers, we would think about, instead of getting credits back for them not hitting deadlines, we're like, how do we bonus you for doing better jobs so our reviews stay high? So if you're a customer thinking about the brand, you're like, okay, I've got someone that I wish I looked like telling me this is great, or wearing a product that I'm really attracted to. How are they on the service? I kind of trust them. And that was also excellent as well. So suddenly that social proof was a big part of the overall offer architecture for the brand. Yeah.
So you come in, okay, you get the feel, influencer marketing is a big deal. You're seeing all these creators. You're like, now you're going to set up some structure, the bones, the skeleton of the brand, build out probably more channels, all these different things. But on influencer, just to stay on that before we transition to maybe some other parts of it, how are you thinking about, okay, how do we leverage this any more? Like, are we, okay, let's try to get this influencer content into paid ads. Let's try to ramp up. Like, when did that come into the equation?
Yeah.
I know you're already talking about
look,
affiliate.
For the spirit of openness as well, the way that Gymshark was structured, there was a chief marketing officer role, which I took, was overtly, in terms of my line management, I had performance marketing, so anything paid, digital, paid social, paid search, etc. CRM and kind of customer. And Noel then was a guy called Noel Mack, was chief brand officer, and the influencer, or earned media is what we call it, fell and reported into that line. And obviously there's a symbiosis between brand and marketing, art and science, right? So we used to talk a lot about art and science equals wonder. It's that symbiosis is where the magic happens. And even when we're designing organizations now for scale up brands, we will put influencer and sponsor creator management in the brand line. And then what we love about, though, as you mentioned, is like the partnership it then has with the paid and the CRM team, and the more analytical, low funnel commercial drivers of the business, because it means that you can, as you say, start to boost user or influencer generated content. It allows us to think about, let's have another think as well, like how does the influencer or influencers, depending on, the traffic overlap of these individuals, audience overlaps, how are they in the attribution, the path to purchase? So, by design, we're trying to consistently design the most efficient path to a conversion. Yeah. We were looking, does that start with an influencer and then it's a paid ad of the same content a week later, or is it then a paid, trying to work out that. And also what's really interesting with a brand like Gymshark is that it was overtly male and male product, 90% male turnover in terms of male apparel. And then within 18 to 20 months, we were then flipped the other way to women. And obviously the way that men and women, I'm going to stereotype and gender stereotype here, apologies, but we do shop and consume marketing, and our psychology of decision-making when it comes to shopping is very different. And of course there'll be edge cases where certain consumers are, act very similar, but there is a thing that we say quite a bit here, or maybe I do, is that men buy and women shop. It's a very different, it's a much more transactional thing like that. Yeah.
Today's Power Minute is brought to you by Social Snowball, an affiliate platform for e-com that is focused on enabling affiliate partnerships for what I like to call the modern affiliate. So not the traditional affiliates, publishers, blogs, etc. This is the modern affiliates, such as creators, ambassadors, influencers, customers, etc. So there's many things I love about Social Snowball. One of the first things that comes to mind is they eliminate all code leaks. So if your codes that have gone out to influencers or affiliates have ended up on coupon sites, Social Snowball would eliminate this. Also, it's very important to have a tiered-based system to motivate your affiliates to continue to post and generate revenue for you. So they make that super seamless. Make it super easy on the affiliate to get paid out any which way that they like. So Venmo, PayPal, directly to their bank, on a Visa gift card, Amazon gift card, all that, etc. If you guys haven't checked them out, they're on the Shopify App Store. Go check them out today. You're missing out. They are clearly the best and our number one recommendation for affiliate marketing.
What was that next step like in terms of some of the building blocks out of that? It was, first of all, we started to think about how do I get some visibility on the value of this channel? How do we do things like, for example, I seem to remember we were sending every new release of every product to everyone. So I was like, actually, do we need to do that? Can we be slightly smarter with what we send? So we set up a way for the influencers to effectively shop themselves. We gave them credit and headroom to get what they wanted. And then there was always things we'd want to push to them and say, hey, you might not choose this, but we want you to wear this product, again, but understanding that. The other thing I would say is that we didn't treat them as I suppose, as suppliers or third parties. One of the things that we tried to encourage, and I think still very much is that today, is that the word sponsor or ambassador is true because they would feel like very much an extension of the internal team.
Sure.
They would be employees. We would treat them with the same respect and empathy and everything that we would our internal team. We would invite them to all hands meetings around the performance of the business. We would do dedicated updates of how the company is performing and future plans. The business
this is to influencers on retainer though, correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I suppose actually the other thing we could talk about is how the hierarchy of those influencers and how we sort of, I suppose, tiered them to some degree.
Yeah.
We would do things where, again, for the sort of mid and top tier, we would try and get them to spend a day in Meta's office finding about best practice in content creation to obviously influence the algorithm as much as possible. So it was trying to say, hey, you give to us. We're going to, obviously there's a remuneration in money, but how can we help each other grow? And we'd spend a lot of time trying to work out, okay, so here's a particular female influencer. What's your goal? Where do you want to go? What's success for you look like? How do we help you on that journey also? And it might be, hey, I'm smashing it on Instagram and I'm nowhere in YouTube. We would then go, right, who have we got in our team that's amazing on YouTube? Let's get those top guys together for a day.
Some more back-end operational system questions. What percentage of marketing were you spending on influencer?
Well, great question. So I can't tell you that for Gymshark directly. Let me give you, I suppose, and let me tell you, if I wrapped it up to lots of the other apparel businesses I've seen, again, this is of net revenue, somewhere between 5 and 10% of net revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did you guys have an actual product seeding budget, or was it just, hey, we want to get those to as many hands as possible?
Yeah. Well, that's that point around being a bit smarter with it. It was I wouldn't say out of control, but it was kind of, look, hey, it's just easy operationally just to give everyone everything. We had one person manually. I think even we had influencer stock in our office and we had someone picking and packing and shipping from the office. We're like, this is bananas. They've got this amazing new warehouse that can do all this stuff. So why don't we just try and make that easier? So yeah, we would put, I suppose, budgets in place for those influencers, or depending on tier again, to be able to take what they want. Yeah.
And then, so when you came in, was there one person dedicated to influence marketing? And then how did that grow over your time there?
That one person in 2015 grew, let's say, over 2.5-3 years into a team of 12.
Wow.
Yeah. And predominantly male, female country was the matrix.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, as that team grew, the revenue streams of influencer grew for you guys as you staff that out.
Much. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a bit like, and again, I can maybe give you a little bit of insight on the structure. And again, I have to be perhaps a bit careful because they may use this right now, so conscious around that privileged information. But effectively, I suppose a micro, mid, major kind of approach. Yeah. And if you're in the major or the celebrity area, probably the service level agreement or contract that you'd have would be more robust. There's probably an agent or a manager involved because of the sort of size and the earning potential of the influencer. There will be a retainer with probably greater exclusivity, and concerns about them going somewhere else, post working with us and things like that. And there'd also be then a commission on sale, which was tracked through an affiliate tracking platform. We're using Awin to do that. Mm-hmm. The mid tier was, I suppose high. We're sort of looking at them as they're the potential celebrities of the future.
Right.
So how can we give them a bit of retainer, again, commission, and again, coach and mentor and help each other grow. And then there's sort of I suppose the micros or the nanos to some degree would be then commission only, but they don't have any exclusivity, right? So they don't really need to. They can be do what they want and just and probably, I'm sure you guys have spoken about this on other pods of yours, but typically, although all of those sort of tiers were good at driving sort of, I suppose, last click revenue when needed, the micros and the nanos tend to be a bit better at the call to action, and it feels right. Whereas at the top, you're trying to protect the authenticity and the credibility of the influencer to be, hey, I don't talk about, come buy this now. It's much more, hey, I'm just making great content. You're here to see me create content. And then, you might not even get a sale on that day. It might be, hey, we know we've got a view through conversion on that from content 2 weeks later, right? So,
yep. How did you guys think about leveraging, like, did you have usage rights to all this content that was getting posted about you, to where, like, you were sitting more on the paid side, you were wanting to get this content
good question.
into that
sort
account?
Of case by case, and we got smarter at doing that, and as time went on. Yeah. I think one of the things that we'd also do, which is interesting, is looking at things like on a weekly basis, either printing, or actually we used to print like a post or the content from actually our own organic post, but also influencer posts, put it on a big wall, and then actually write the engagement or, likes, clicks, sort of, in terms of an engagement rate as a percentage of followers, and then look at it visually and stand back and go, what things create more engagement and which things create less engagement? And we sort of start to home in on patterns of, actually, it's when more than one person is training, they're sweatier, they tend to show a bit more skin, versus the ones that
for sure
don't perform so well, right? Actually, there's a bit more, they're on the way to the gym. And it was like, actually, but you've always got to create balance, because if you just keep pushing the same content all the time, right, it becomes wallpaper, and it just, it's not that interesting. Yeah.
This is what I was going to say, is that now, obviously, your experience at Gymshark, the incredible growth, they did influencer the right way. And then obviously your visibility into loads and loads of brands. What would you say to somebody? Because I have conversations with founders all the time where they're, very numbers oriented. I need to, for every dollar I spend, I need to get $2 back. 4, or 8 or 10, that's the expectation. What would you say is, like, if they're very ROI focused, what would you say to that person who wants to view that on influencer marketing?
And and we speak to a lot of founders as well, is like trying to establish, and again, if the founders listen to this now and thinking about a bit of self-reflection, like how much clarity and rigor do you have in your brand strategy? So do you really know who your target audience is? Have you, and I think one of the points around the Gymshark success is because it's like a niche of a niche of a niche. Like, you get people who are into sports and fitness and down into the free weights or functional area of the gym. And then actually it was younger people who were really into Instagram. So it was like the niche of it. And like, I think that then allows you, I suppose, if you've got true clarity on the rational and emotional needs of your customer, like what really motivates them, both consciously and subconsciously, right? And maybe we can talk about what that looks like for Gymshark a bit more to bring that to life. But knowing that then, I suppose, gives you the clarity of when you're then looking for the right influencer, if it's a micro, a nano, or a major, you have the ability then to understand, does this person really truly align to what we stand for as a brand, and potentially to the target audience that are going to be consuming and using them for social proof? And then I suppose if you feel like you over-index on that clarity, or if you think, I've got that confidence, I know, and now I'm thinking, right, how it's ROI now, I think it's then an element of, I suppose, trying to use, I would say, if you can, make sure you're using, I suppose, tracking URLs. That's a bit more difficult with GA4 now, I think, or even there's rumors of like UTM strings being taken away in terms of privacy going forward. But like any other sort of affiliate tracking program that allows you to get some sense of traffic and conversion off of these individuals. And obviously there'll always be a risk reward spend versus what I can expect back kind of calculation to try and make. And I suppose one of the benefits that Gymshark had at the time is that it was an immature market. The likes of a Unilever and Procter & Gamble weren't really in there spending large amounts of money. And perhaps and influencers and creators themselves weren't really, I suppose, aware of the value they were having truly to some of those early brands. So obviously the market has inflated. But I still think with coming back to that first point, around if you get the clarity of that, the right individual to represent your brand that then resonates with your consumer in terms of the content they want, the ROI will be positive. Now, what time that takes to pay back and getting that balance right is a little bit difficult to predict.
That's the thing. That's the thing, right? Is like people are a little too impatient. They view influencer marketing the same way they view their Facebook ad account dashboard.
Yeah, and that I would say is too simplistic a view. Mm-hmm. And you need to look at it because it is mid and upper funnel awareness. It's like perhaps using a dating analogy of like, dating to getting married. It's a first date.
Yep.
And, do you take, and this is the hypothesis, right? Do you say, right, I want to be able to go on my first date and get married the next day? That's probably a 1 in 100 chance. Yeah. Whereas, a customer takes 3 or 4 dates before the marriage, right? The conversion. And I think you've got to, obviously, if you can make that, if you're able to get, and this is the interesting thing around, we could talk about first dates. Do you take, your prospective partner to a Michelin star $400 meal, which is an expensive celebrity, perhaps influencer, or do you take them for a walk in the park? The content is important, right? And I suppose that's what's something, and it's trying to achieve, I suppose, or test both to some degree. I would look at.
Well, going with your analogy, I mean, that's what Gymshark did. Is their product was the first date, and they didn't ask them to do anything with it. They just wanted to get the product in their hands.
Yeah, and that's because, and actually, we can talk about hitting the rational and emotional needs of both the influencer and then the end consumer. Ben and Lewis had created a product which was, I suppose, was all around, actually, to be honest, the aesthetic. It was a bodybuilding, like perfect body aesthetic. And actually, there are certain individuals that go to the gym that want to show that off. They're an extrovert. They like training in front of the mirror and looking at themselves while they train. They like other people looking at them while they train. They like creating attention. And also they're proud to show off the investment of the time and energy it took to get that physique. So there's an element of, and that's what the product did. And if you look at what was in the market at the time, there was lots of big baggy stringer vests. There was nothing contoured to show off the physique. And when you then, and I suppose again, perhaps I think the influencers that the guys targeted initially, and even still to this day to some degree, had the same emotional and rational wants as both Ben and Lewis. So when they found Steve Cook or a Lex or her, these people wanted products that would do this for them. They wanted to show off what they'd earned. They wanted to show their physique off when they were training. So, and then obviously there is a cohort of consumers who also want to behave like that when they train. And there's a whole, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if you've met people, Cody, but obviously when I meet people and I tell them about my background and spend some time at Gymshark, they're like, man, that's not my brand. I would never wear it. And that's probably because then they're the individuals that are the introverts in the gym. They want to be on their own, put their headphones on, hoodie up or whatever, and just train and leave. Yeah. And they're not the social extroverts in the gym. And I think that's the point, that clarity of finding people who really, I suppose, influencers that the product, you gifted the product and it delivered what the influencer wanted. Like, my God, I've never had this product that did what I needed it to. Mm-hmm. Right. And here it is. Of course, then I'm going to wear it when I'm training because I'm making content and want to show off my body. Right. So it was like, it's just a perfect kind of storm, I suppose, in that regard. Yeah.
Wrapping up here, what would be your advice to brands that want to get started in influence marketing?
Maybe it comes back to what we mentioned relatively recently, having real confidence around the brand clarity. So does your product or service hit the rational and emotional needs of the customer? And if it does, those customers will exist as creators. Find them and they will go, oh my God, this product is bloody amazing. I'm going to make content about it because it does what you promised it would do. And maybe I didn't even know it existed, right? So I think having real clarity around that, and again, happy to share my email or DMs and stuff with you guys if you've got any questions about how do I know that? How can I find out? We've got some things that we can point you in direction on that. First of all, absolutely. Number two, start small, I guess, look at if you can find those individuals. And I think that's the really interesting thing. If you find those influencers that you meet their needs, product need, they will be less sensitive around the commercials. You'll have much more leverage to negotiate a lower retainer or a lower commission. I mean, I've got a couple of brands that we've worked with now that have got Hollywood celebrity, A-list actors, actresses and they are wearing the products for free because they love the product so much. And you're like, and like that's, you know, and they could easily say, you know, you're going to pay me 7 figures to be able to do this. And they don't. They wear the product organically and they're happy to help the brand because they think the product is sick and badass. That's enough. So
that's where it all starts. It's the foundation, right?
I think if you're finding that you're getting people come back to you with what feels like very expensive and high risk retainers or commissions, that probably is a signal to me to say this person doesn't really like the product very much. Would be my
great
analysis on that.
Great note. Where can people connect with you?
Cool. We'll check out the growth.foundation. That's our website. I'm on LinkedIn. Richard Chappell, you'll find me there. I'm on Instagram as well. I've recently set up Threads, but haven't posted much yet. But yeah, that's probably the best place.
Awesome. Well, Rich, I really appreciate the time. Guys, this is a lot of great nuggets in this episode. So obviously, if there's more that you want to talk, Rich is obviously available to you guys. And Rich, appreciate the time.
Love to meet you guys. Yeah, please feel free to reach out.
All right, that's all for today. If you'd like some help developing your influencer marketing campaign, go ahead and DM us on Twitter. Links are in the description. Or you can head to kinship.co to learn more, and you can book a call there. That's KYNSHIP.co. At kinship.co, you also find tools, templates, and resources, all designed to help you grow an influencer campaign that drives visibility and sales, not just likes. Thanks for tuning in as always, and we'll see you next week.